and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, HAL. Joining me today, Lili. Hello. And also joining us today, this is the first time you're here, Davis. Introduce yourself.
Where am I?
I don't know. Where are you? You're in under the sea with a bunch of naked mermaids. That's where you are.
This is just like the battle against Tethys in Titanius Book 1, Rise of the Titans, available now. Written by yours truly.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that definitely sounds like the book you've written. Okay, yeah.
God damn it!
Very good.
It's chapter 3, if I remember correctly.
You wrote the damn thing, so you better remember correctly.
Yeah, you better fucking remember.
Oh well, Lili, Davis, welcome to today's episode. This came about because of the first movie we're going to be talking about. Davis, a while back, you had said you wanted to talk about Infernal Affairs, the Hong Kong movie from 2002. And yeah, we're going to talk about that as our first movie. Why don't you guys get it kicked off? Infernal Affairs, what do we think?
So the legacy that Infernal Affairs has left behind is something that can't really be understated. It's easily like one of the most influential Hong Kong films to ever release. It seems the action drama genres from that territory really decided to pull at the very least like one or two things from how the movie is shot, how it's structured, how it like blends those two genres together, made for something really powerful and effective. Lili and I were actually showed this movie to two people quite recently, and they all immediately thought of the video game Sleeping Dogs, which personally I never played, but it sounds like that game's story and mechanics did pull a lot from this movie in particular. And obviously it's also the source material for the second movie that we're going to talk about after this, The Departed, directed by Martin Scorsese. But as a little introduction to Infernal Affairs, it is directed by Alan Mak and Andrew Lau. If those names sound familiar, they also directed the live-action 2006 adaptation of Initial D, which is another movie I very much enjoy from them. It stars Tony Leung. Forgive me if I mispronounce this. I'm still working on my Chinese. Tony Leung Chiu Wai, not to be confused with the other Tony Leung. That's Big Tony. This is Little Tony. A lot of fans of Hong Kong cinema may recognize him as a regular for famous film director Wong Kar-wai. In the Mood for Love is probably his most recognizable performance. He was also in Hard Boiled, directed by John Woo, which also starred Chow Yun-fat. He was also the Mandarin in Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. So Tony Leung does have a huge reputation surrounding him, and so does his co-star in this movie, Andy Lau Takwa. Andy Lau is another huge name when it comes to Hong Kong cinema. He also appeared in several Wong Kar-wai's films. Days of Being Wild is a very noteworthy one, as well as Tears Go By. He was also in Drunken Master 2, and he's still performing in movies to this day, like the movie Emperor, where he plays a very much satirical version of himself, as well as The Wandering Earth 2, which is a prequel to The Wandering Earth, which was really huge on Netflix. And I'd say that's probably like his his best, if not one of his best performances like he's ever given in recent years. And just to give you an idea of how dedicated Andy Lau is to his craft, he's also a theater performer. And there have been two separate instances last year where he almost died on stage by performing very dangerous stunts. So yeah, like a lot of Hong Kong actors really do not mess around when it comes to performing. Jackie Chan is not the only one who has nearly gotten himself killed in many productions.
Right. Yeah. I was
Um,
gonna say. I'm
yeah,
thinking.
but
I'm thinking back to Police Story. So.
yeah, but yeah, like introduction to those big names out of the way. The plot to Infernal Affairs is quite simple. There is a mole in the police force, and there is a mole in a crime syndicate, and both parties who have planted their respective moles have become aware that they have moles, just sneaking around, surveying their operations, just going right under their noses, and it all becomes like this big cat and mouse game as to who can find the mole first. And what happens is a lot of drama, a lot of internal struggle. I mean, it's in the title, Infernal Affairs. That title has so many meanings that can be applied to what occurs in the story. Other names in the cast also include Eric Sung as the crime boss Han Sam. There's also Anthony Wong, who is also in the live action Initial D, playing Inspector Wong. Other co-stars include Kelly Chen, Semi Chung, Gordon Lam, Edison Chan. Uh, correct me on this, Lily, if I mispronounce this. Elva Xiao, is that how you say it?
Elva?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Elva.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I got that right. Um. So so yeah, as I said before, when Infernal Affairs came out, it did become very popular. It was very successful. It was essentially like a genre-defining film because of how it blended the genres that it delved into, as well as the character work that was put in. And I currently have it as one of my all-time favorite movies because of that. Like, this is a movie that has so many layers. It's a lot to break down. Um, like story-wise, especially when it comes to the thematic meaning of various moments that occur. Like, it's very touching, but like in that Shakespearean sort of way where it's very tragic and you really like connect to the characters. You absolutely feel for everyone who is involved in this story. And I know I've been going on for a good minute here, so I'm just gonna cut it here and say that it truly deserves to be like one of the best, and I am so happy that it has gotten a Criterion release that also includes its two sequels, Infernal Affairs 2 and 3.
So one of the important things you kind of have to acknowledge with Infernal Affairs is what it is discussing, which is identity. One of the big historical events that happened about 5 years prior to this movie was the lapsing of the 99-year lease of Hong Kong from the mainland China in 1997, which happened because of a consequence of the first Opium War in the near mid 1800s. So the film is about like what do we as Hong Kong citizens do when we no longer are dependent on the United Kingdom and we are now part of a place that we don't really associate ourselves with beyond trade. Um, for a lot of people who don't know, Hong Kong does not speak Mandarin as its primary language. It does use it, but it uses a traditional form known as Cantonese.
Hmm.
While there is some crossover in characters, pronunciation, uh, there's a few people who can speak both of them. It's very much its own separate language in the same way that like in Taiwan, they use a more traditional form of Chinese rather than the simplified Chinese that is more common and most taught in a lot of American schools because it was produced around the 50s as a way to increase literacy amongst the public, which China has a very bad history of having very low literacy rates. Um, so it's interesting to see how the film ties that dualism with Andy Lau's character and Tony Leung's. And I also really enjoy its approach to Buddhism, which the film outright slaps you in the face with in its opening with a direct pull from Buddhist scripture. And the title itself includes the Wuxian, which is the Avisi hell, which is the lowest point of hell in the Buddhist hell. For those who aren't familiar with Buddhism, this is where the most suffering occurs and where the death, the dead who have committed grave misdeeds are reborn. Which, if once you have that context in mind for the characters in this movie, it starts making a lot more sense, even if you already kind of figured that out in your head. As I was told before this conversation, this movie was inspired by Face Off by John Woo. And it was the director Max believed that the face swapping part would be impossible to do in real life, but they could still be able to discuss the idea of two people on opposing sides of a system dueling for that other side of the system.
Right, infiltrating.
Yes. And so we get this very interesting, almost cat and mouse game that has so many interesting twists and turns. And we see a lot of these spiritual aspects of identity come about, like with Tony Leung's character wanting his identity back so he could be a real person again, since he's been in this game for about 10 years. And he just wants to be someone who could live happily. While we have Andy Lau's character, who is doubling as a rat for the mafia, and he is trying to be a good person. And one of the big points that the movie makes is his partner, played by popular Mandarin Chinese singer Kelly Chen, is writing a book about with the character she doesn't know is a bad person doing good things or a good person doing bad things, which is kind of like an in-your-face way of trying to describe Andy Lau's character and Tony Leung's. So it's very interesting to see how that kind of starts coming into play with the film's narrative, and it comes together really nicely. And that's all I have to say to introduce the movie in terms of those aspects. So I guess we can get to your side of the equation, Hal.
My side, yeah. I liked it. I did like it a lot actually. Because it's weird
Why
because
don't you love it?
I know, yeah. I actually hated it. It was the worst thing I ever saw on this
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Yeah. They didn't speak English. Like, how am I supposed to know what's happening?
Well,
Um,
you guys are gonna hate me again, but I loved it.
yeah.
No, I'm just fucking.
It's the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen.
But yeah. You were saying.
No, so yeah, I was saying, because I did see The Departed originally, like years ago. So I had a vague understanding of the story, but it had been a while, so I didn't remember everything. So I was going in with kind of a fresh perspective, but still knowing basics. But even still, I loved how very tightly paced this movie is. I actually liked it. I would say out of both this and The Departed, I absolutely do think this one's better. I still love The
Oh yeah,
Departed.
we'll get into that.
Yeah. I still love both movies, I would say about equally. I would say this one's just a tiny bit better for me because I think the pacing is really strong for me. Um and just a lot of moments. I really love the tension in this movie. Like one of my favorite scenes is early on when the police are in that room and they're kind of overseeing the crime gangs, like they're doing like that whole drug deal, and that's the scene where like they both figure out, oh, we got a mole in our group. Because I like that there's actually a scene where they both discover that something's afoot, which then kicks off the rest of the movie. And I thought it was just beautifully edited in a way that just made me engaged in everything they were doing. I also really liked, I don't know if maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but like the cinematography in both their scenes were different slightly. You know, if I'm not mistaken, the criminals had like a green tint to their shots, whereas the police had like a bit of a blue tint to their shots. I thought
Oh
that was
yes.
really cool. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm right in that. Good, because I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, just that whole scene in general
Mhm.
does a fantastic job at se- uh, at just setting the tone
Mhm.
for the rest of the movie when it comes to that tension because like not only is it a very tense moment, that tension still carries on through the rest of the movie. Like
Mhm.
there are so many instances where there's like a close call here and there, like the scene at the movie theater
Mm.
where we see posters for Men in Black 2 and Eight-Legged Freaks.
Yeah, the best
The
movies.
yes, Eight-Legged Freaks is also the movie that is responsible for my arachnophobia. Do what you will with that information. um so but yeah, like I think even before that, uh, it also does a wonderful job establishing these characters and how you really get to know who they are. Um, like um, like uh, Tony Lung's character
Mhm.
for instance, when him and Inspector Wong are conversing on the rooftop somewhere in like the first 10 minutes of the movie, it's like it's already established that Inspector Wong is not the first person that Tony Leung has worked for, and and he keeps saying every 3 years there's always another 3 years.
Mhm.
So like he's very much trapped in like this endless cycle, and then he drops that he's been doing this for 10 years when he was supposed to be like finished a long time ago. Again, kind of just going back to the title of the movie, Infernal Affairs.
Yeah.
That's very much his infernal affair.
Yeah, and I like how Tony Leung specifically, I like his performance in this because not only does he say outright, "Oh, every 3 years is another 3 years," also just the way he looks. He's all like shaggy and his hair is
Yeah,
all mess.
he is very tired.
Yeah, he's very tired. So it reflects in the performance that he's just frustrated with everything and he's just been going downhill ever since. It's great, like just the marriage of the script and the actual performance forming this really interesting character.
Oh yeah, and on Andy Lau's side of things, he greatly excels at the police academy. So
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely someone who catches on super well. But because he is so good at his job working with the police, he's also very good at his job working with Sam.
Yeah. But like, even though he has like this very calm demeanor to him, his cracks do start to form in his life going throughout the movie, and I like that too.
Yeah,
I like that it's not even just like both characters have kind of a downfall. There's levels to how they approach their everyday lives, because
yeah, like
they're very different characters at the end of the day.
yeah, and we see how they try to overcome these tragedies that are before them differently. Whereas Tony Lung, he grows to be more desperate as the movie continues, whereas Andy Lau, he grows to become more uncertain until towards the end he finally uh, has like has like this like sense of clarity, and then he's like back to being very confident, and decides to carry out what he thinks is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
He carries out his infernal affair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I really love that those first 10-15 minutes. They're probably some of the most effective use of setting up your movie that I've seen in all 2000 movies I think I've seen in my life. Um it like you under like even when we have like the opening with the record shop where we're Andrew Lau's character Lao King Ming, he's getting a cable for his new sound system, and we get this kind of moment between him and Tony Leung's character Chan Wing Yan. Um, we get this sense that they are seeing a level of respect for each other, and they both know certain things in life, and it also is one of the great ways of kind of having like a Chekhov's gun,
Yeah.
because that later comes into play later in the movie whenever Tony Leung's character comes over to uh, Andy Lau's place and hands over the uh, CD to Kelly Chen's character
Mm-hmm.
uh, under the guise of uh, checking their sound system. Um, and and then we have the bits where like that you guys were talking about with having the recognition of like, oh, there's a mole and on both parties,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have both characters figure that out as well, and then it's just this entire game of trying to figure out who is who, and we get all these close calls that are like very nail biting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this movie also like it really rewards you for paying attention.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Um, like even if it didn't have those flashbacks, um, to remind you, oh right, um, it still allows you to feel like you're part of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and you're figuring this out as they figure it out. So when we find out that um Lao is the mole for the mafia. He uh, Tony Leung's character recognizes it because of the way the parcel is in his office,
Yes.
and we also have that moment where he sees the way that he remembers the way that Lao is slowly like slapping the parcel against his thigh. And you have that brilliant moment where it's like has a POV shot of him looking over at Andy Lau as he's going through the computer and reinstating uh, Tony Leung's identity. And it's like that's recognition for you, the audience, and Tony Leung for like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this is the person we're looking for.
Yeah. So when he was talking to that other goon about like, oh no, that's not how you spell bodyguard, you spell it like this, and he writes on
Yes.
the envelope, I knew, I'm like, okay, that's coming back, because again, like I said, I had seen The Departed, and that there's a similar scene in The Departed of that, but I had forgotten it completely. So I was still like, oh, where is this going? And then later in the movie, when Tony Leung's in the office and he sees that same envelope and he just remembers him writing it, it's like, oh fuck. It's a great moment. It's spectacular. It's awesome.
Yeah, just as well. I really love how like you mentioned the pacing, and I very much agree. For a movie that's under 2 hours, this movie moves really nicely and quick.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
When we get to The Departed, we'll talk about that runtime. But it's very good to watch a movie that's under 2 hours, and it feels like a very brisk sub 2 hour movie.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like you kind of need to tack new things onto it, because it would be like a complete restructure of its pacing.
Yeah.
Like it's very straightforward and very, very effective. It manages to do a lot in that sub 2 hour runtime, and it does so beautifully.
It knows what to focus on and what not to necessarily focus on. I will say it was weird. The one part that was weird to me, and that was when Tony Leung meets up with this woman he used to know. I like the idea of the scene of him meeting this woman that he used to know and just being like, oh, how are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm waiting for my husband. And he goes, oh, okay. I like that. I just felt like it came out a little bit out of nowhere. But I think overall it's not that big of a deal. I think its inclusion is still important to him as a character.
Yeah. It like emphasizes how like much he doesn't have an identity anymore, and how long he's been in the workforce.
Yeah,
that he has lost out on an opportunity that he clearly wishes he got.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it. Like even if we don't really see her again, I mean,
we still see her at the funeral, but again, that's to reinforce the fact that it's just to reinforce how sad it is that he died.
Yeah, and it also like I do appreciate how like even if we'll have these like moments where it's a lot of telling us, you can tell by the way the film the script has written these out and how the performers are acting it out. You feel like there's a history.
Yeah.
Like you feel like these people have been in this world for a long time. Like it's not trying to force you to think that these are real people. It's letting you feel like they're real people because it's making all of this feel very real.
Yeah. Because another thing too is that I'm like at first I was a little annoyed with the not the inclusion itself of the wife like writing a book and being like, oh, I don't know if this character is good or bad and stuff like that. It's like it was a little obvious, but I don't want it to be cut out entirely. I think its inclusion is still important for like, like you said, it rewards people for people who are paying attention. And so that's still a nice aspect to have. You have, the wife kind of figuring this out, and it kind of reinforces back onto Andy Lau's character. So even though it's obvious, I still like that it's in the movie. I just wouldn't want it any other way.
Exactly.
We were talking about the the music store earlier, and in that scene, they play a song by Sai Chin, which is usually translated into The Forgotten Time. It's when you listen or are supposed to read through the lyrics of the song, it's ultimately about this sort of longing for the past, but also the acknowledgement that your past experiences have essentially led up to the present, and it's because of those experiences that you are the current person who stands here right now. It's those memories and experiences that give you your strength and your wisdom. And I think that's like a very clever way of intertwining not just like the themes of the movie being about trying to overcome this uncertainty of one's own identity. It's also the song that plays like when we see Tony Leung and Andy Lau together, like for the first time before like the movie really starts to kick off.
Yeah. See,
it very much gives like this foreshadowing of what's to come for both characters and what they're about to experience. And in a way, like it's also that very scene that kind of brings them back together.
Yeah.
After Lau's congratulated for dispatching Sam, it's like as soon as Lau walks into the office, they immediately recognize each other, and Jan asks, how's
the stereo?
Like, yeah, how's the stereo?
No, you bring up a good point there with the fact that, because I would never have picked up on that, what the meaning of the lyrics. So even though we have moments in this movie that are a little on the obvious side, we have incredibly subtle moments like that too. So that's awesome. So the movie has both.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like and that song too also plays once Andy Lau starts piecing together, oh, I knew this guy when we were in the academy together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of reflecting that like part of identity and like remembering times that were now long forgotten, because it makes it almost completely sad once it starts like reflecting young Tony Leung turning around, and then it shows him as he knew him.
No kidding.
Old, a bum.
Yeah. Stupid, smelly, he sucks.
Yeah, stupid, dead.
Oh gosh, like I've seen this movie so many times now, and that ending like still hits me every time. Like I'm actually starting to like form tears just like thinking about it. It's not just like the moment in of itself, and like that and that deep regret that Andy Lau is like still carrying after Yan is killed. Like it's when they repeat the lines from the opening scene where where I'm sorry.
You'll get it.
You're good.
They ask who wants to trade places with Officer Yan, and Andy Lau says, I do. And like those two scenes, they have a completely different context, but the way they like come back together is done so poetically.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. See, again, another one of those things that was in The Departed, the fact that the character, Tony Leung's character specifically, gets shot. I kind of saw it coming, but the way that it's edited, the way that it's presented, I still was heartbroken when it happened. I was like, ah, damn. I was really rooting for you anyway, but again, it still made sense within the context of the movie, and it was done so beautifully. Again, like I said, it's heartbreaking. Even though I saw it coming, I was still gut-wrenched when it happened, because it's sad.
Exactly. Like, whenever that, like, I think this is one of those movies where with these constant twists and turns don't feel like tiresome.
No.
Like a lot of the common complaints with a lot of movies nowadays is the constant like trying to subvert expectations. And you know, one of the big jokes about Rian Johnson movies is that but like when movies like this remind you that if you do it well, then you're doing it really well.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
that moment where Chen gets shot in the head, like the movie cuts right before we think of, okay, is it him or did Andy Lau get shot?
Yeah.
Like, who got shot?
Right, exactly.
And then we find out it's him. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. The moment is
Like,
spoiled on Max, by the way, in the fucking Infernal
yeah,
Affairs banner.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't even notice. But then, like, once the movie was over and I went back to that page and I just see Tony Long and he has a bullet hole in his head, I'm like, what the fuck?
You see the prosthetic bullet hole. Yeah, don't watch it on Max, guys.
Yeah.
You'll know what happens. But oh god, it's one of those really great moments in film where you are on the edge of your seat, but then it tries to pull the rug under you with that blackout, and then it shows you what actually happened.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like gut wrenching.
Yeah.
Because you during this entire movie, like either way, you would have felt the exact same way if Lau died. Because you kind of understand both of their lives by this point.
Yes.
And how like both of them are trying to be good people. Like the movie kind of shows this complexity of these two individuals where like you kind of don't want either of them to fail, but you don't exactly want to see some of the things they're doing succeed.
Yeah.
Which is like whenever we had that bit where Kelly Chen's character finds out that Lau is the mole who's working with Sam, she doesn't even want to be around him anymore. And it affects him. Like, and we see this like vulnerability in him after, especially once we had that scene with the book, that like now he's like really trying to turn his life around because he doesn't want to be the bad person who does good things. That once again, there's like that dualism that's like played really hard in this movie. That stems from its political commentary on Hong Kong's dual identity as this British colony and this now being a part of the Chinese conglomerate again.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, do we as individuals, do we keep being what we once were, even in the face of this ever-changing environment, or do we keep living regardless of that? Like, Tony Long's character gets so very close to having the life he wants.
Yeah.
But he never gets it. And in that sense, it's enlightenment for Lau that he needs to turn his life around. And sometimes the only way for that to happen is for a guy to get shot right in front of you.
Yeah. It happens, you know.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you go now, since I feel like I've gotten.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, because like the again, to go back into another moment that I didn't remember from The Departed, it was when Andy Lau kills Sam. I did not remember Matt Damon killing Jack Nicholson in The Departed, so when it got to that scene and he shot him, I audibly went, "Oh!" like aloud in my room when I was watching the movie. I was that shocked by it. And it was great. But then it led me to realize, oh, wow, this character, I love what they're doing. And I do like that Andy Lau, as far as I know from the end of the movie, he doesn't die. He goes on living. And I like that this movie does that. Because they do it differently in The Departed, which is fine. I'll get to that. But I like that they let him live in this one. Because I still feel like he's the themes surrounding this character are still prevalent. You know, you have him, his life has fallen apart because again, his wife won't talk to him. This guy is now dead in front of him and he has to go on living with that. But he still has to live with that, you know?
Yeah, it's like the the sutra that the movie closes on. He who is in continuous hell never dies.
Right.
Longevity is a big hardship in
Yeah.
continuous hell.
Yeah, exactly. So even though he didn't die, he's still somewhat suffering for what he's done. Because again, his wife left him. She took the kids. There are
Took
no-
the sound system.
She took the sound system, that bitch.
Oh yeah,
Took
like
the whole stereo.
yeah, like to add on to that bit, I really love how
She
like
took the $4,000 cable.
$4,000 game.
Oh my
I
God.
love how the tension rises in that scene.
Mm,
Like I love the bit where you start hearing the phone ring
yeah.
and it's like, wait, and then he's like, Sam's like, wait, where is that coming from? And then you just see Lau just turn around from the girder and it's like, oh fuck, he set this all up.
Yeah, dude. I'm not kidding. I audibly went, oh, when he shot him. I was that shocked.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's so fucking good, man. Like
Yeah.
It is.
I loved it. So good.
And
yeah.
there's also the scene where Inspector Wong is killed, and
we have to talk about that scene. Yeah.
I love how Wong's death and Sam's death both have very opposite like results for both Andy Lau and Tony Leung, whereas Andy Lau killing Sam like puts him like much higher on his pedestal. When Inspector Wong dies and Tony Leung like sees it, like it is absolutely gut punching, because he just lost his one connection to society as a whole. Like he might as well just not even exist in the moment, and you really just see it settle like on his face.
Yeah.
Like it is so heartbreaking.
So heartbreaking.
Yeah, like I really do love what you were discussing about how like Lao goes higher while Chen goes lower.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see how like that gap between them becomes wider, because Lao gets rewarded for his action, and he gets a new identity as a result.
Yeah.
While when Wong dies, Chan's entire identity is now completely gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
and it's also their actions that play a part in their like positioning, whereas Lau like outright betrays Sam, Yan was just following orders, and it's gotten him into a deeper pit bigger than the one he was already in.
Yeah.
So like it really does kind of like blur that area between like what's right and what's wrong, like following orders and acting on your own accord, like again, just going back to that uncertainty with oneself. Like how could these events have played out if they if they went a different path?
Yeah.
Like it really makes you think.
Really makes you think, don't it?
No, it doesn't.
Yes. Shut up.
I also really like just the difference in their deaths. You have Sam, who just gets shot in a basement or a garage or whatever, and then you have Wong just falling out of a building, which is even more brutal. It's like, oh god, it's like horrifying to witness. So like
in a way, like Wong's like literal descent symbolizes Yan's own descent.
Ooh, there you go. There you go. I can see that being something you can interpret. I like that.
I'm smart.
I went to
No, I'm
school. I went to film school and learned about movies.
SMRT. I mean SMART.
Yes. I guess I also wanted to shout out a character I really liked, and that's I'm saying this right, Kung, the guy who didn't know how to spell bodyguard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Silly Kong.
Yeah, Silly Kong. I like this character a lot. I think because at first I thought I was a little annoyed with him, but as the movie
You're a
progressed,
cop.
he was great. Yeah, no, he's one of those. He's because he is blatantly a comedic side character, but he is actually funny throughout the movie, so I don't mind that his role is so obvious. And also I was very disappointed when he died. I'm like, oh man, not Kong.
Not that
Yeah, like
silly boy. Not
yeah,
that silly
yeah,
boy.
that's also like a very good scene too. Given how it happens literally right when we just we've just seen like Wong die,
Yeah,
and like he has these like touching final words to Yan, but he also it's also like there's also a sense of dramatic irony to it because because like he doesn't know that Yan is the mole yet he's talking about like how he can like like help and find him and all that, which it just makes it even sadder.
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's entirely it's. I mean, at least he didn't know how to spell bodyguard, so then Tony Lung could find out that the other guy's the
Yeah.
mole. It's like it all worked out. Illiteracy worked in our favor.
Yeah.
But yeah.
truly
Yeah.
the unsung hero.
Yeah, like it's very interesting how like this movie is able to make even like kind of gag characters like Kung still feel like people,
Oh yeah.
even if they're only there to like drive a certain thing across for later.
Yeah.
It shows that like you can't really remove something from this movie and suddenly it's magically better.
Yeah.
Like everything is kind of meticulously woven into the movie to be purposeful and not like wasted.
Yeah.
The music's really good too.
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah. Because like again, another thing that was like, I'm a little weirded out by it because it got a little cheesy. But like we were saying about like how that one song had very important lyrics that kind of reinforced the themes of the movie. It's like, okay, then I can forgive that. But also it's just really good music regardless. Like even if it is
Yeah.
cheesy, I still like it.
Yeah, like it's very much akin to like a Chinese drama,
Sure.
and how like the music plays out, which is probably why it may seem a bit off-putting, but like it's also kind of to be like expected at that point, but like regardless of whether or not you're like into it, it still serves like a very good purpose
Absolutely.
when it comes to selling the drama, selling the tension, selling the emotion of a scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I mean some of it is just really catchy.
Mhm.
I love when the it starts bringing a bit of mariachi into it.
Yeah.
And it's like and it brings in the horns and it's all like it's so like kind of over the top.
Yeah.
But I guess it kind of plays into how like really stupid this entire like situation is. Like with this couldn't have gone any worse for any of these people, but it did. It's just constant bridges of how can everything just become way worse, and it just gets worse.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, I feel like we've more or less hit everything.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
a
I think
very
too.
it's just a very awesome movie. I loved watching through it. I would absolutely watch it again. Just yeah, I don't really have any major complaints about it. I just like I said, a lot of the things that kind of annoyed me, either I can chalk up to cultural differences or that's just how the movie is. But they're not things I would want to change about the movie. Is the other thing. Like,
Yeah.
Just because I find minor annoyances with them does not mean I would want it to change. It's like no, I think it feels purposeful anyway. And also, some things I learned to love as the movie went on, and once I saw the point of it. So it's like, you know what? I like this. It's just a very solid movie. I could see why it was so popular back in the day, and why it's still popular to this day.
Yeah, and has like over a dozen remakes and adaptation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really cool concept. You have two gigantic groups going at each other, the police, the mafia, and you just put like one person from each side and put them in the other side. Like that sounds like it would be like such a classical story. I'm surprised you
Yeah.
don't see it very often, or if you do, it's blatantly either paying homage to either Infernal Affairs or The Departed. Like it's like these two movies are the only movies to come up with that. It's weird.
Oh, and Face Off.
And Face Off, sure.
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, fair enough. Face Off. I mean, it's Nicolas Cage versus John Travolta. Yeah, it's true.
It all comes back to John Woo in a way.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I can agree to that.
The way that man has basically revolutionized the action genre in Hong Kong, like
Mhm.
that's another conversation to be had.
Exactly. So, I guess if we have that not that much to say, I don't have it on Blu-ray, obviously, but I would want to add it to my collection. Just because you guys said it's on Criterion, and I think I did notice on Letterboxd it has like a couple Criterion posters, so I'm like, oh, it's on the Criterion.
Yes.
I mean, duh.
Yes. The Criterion release also includes Infernal Affairs 2 and 3 as well.
Yeah.
So whenever there's that Barnes and Noble sale again, you know what to get.
Yeah, no, I know what to get. No, absolutely. I'm curious, do you guys own it at all on physical or
No.
no?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, can we use your picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Take a picture of it. I'll send it and then I'll use it in the episode. That's fine. Yeah, wow. Awesome movie. I like the part where there's that one guy in the movie and he had a Red Sox hat on, and I thought, huh, that is incredible foreshadowing.
Yes.
So
let's segue.
Let's segue.
Yeah.
There's no better way to segue than to our next movie, the movie that I actually own on Blu-ray, The Departed, or actually, Lili, we have to say it properly, phonetically. The Departed.
Departed.
Yeah.
Odded.
Yeah. We can't pronounce our O's anymore. I'm too sick to have the Bostonian accent. I'll try. But
I guess.
yeah, no. So The Departed is something I had seen years ago, just because it's a Martin Scorsese film. It takes place in good old Boston town, so I felt like I had to see it. And I loved it the first time I watched it. I thought it was awesome. Rewatching it again with Infernal Affairs in mind, yes, I do think it's a lot weaker than I had remembered, but man, I loved it a lot. I gotta say, I think it's still, even though I will say, anytime it does anything that Infernal Affairs does, obviously Infernal Affairs does better. I still think when it comes to American remakes of international cinema, the fact that it's this good is honestly kind of a miracle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Especially since it's from that era of the 2000s where we were like really exporting these movies out there in the world, and then we were remaking this because just 2 years before this, we had the Ju-on the Grudge remake that Sam Raimi produced that had the original director of the Ju-on series work on it. And we had just the year after this, we had the remake of Funny Games.
Same
we
director.
had it's a shot for shot remake. And then we had like The Ring in 2002.
Yeah.
Like we were remaking a lot of these foreign films and Americanizing them in some capacity.
Yeah, and it all comes down to varying results, because again, years later, we would in 2013 we'd get the Old Boy remake, and oh boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh boy, indeed.
That's one of the worst examles of like,
yeah,
this does not work at all.
Yeah.
Huh. My favorite
and
Spike Lee movie.
The Magnificent Seven, there's that one.
Oh, haven't seen that one.
But so a bit of context with this one. This film, it started as a bidding war in the 2000s, where Miramax and Warner Brothers eventually won the rights towards it. I believe it was through Brad Pitt and Brad Gray's company.
Yeah, Plan B, right?
Yeah. Plan B roll.
Yeah.
And I think this movie was made in like a very interesting time in Martin Scorsese's career.
Yes.
So if any of you are not familiar with where we were with Scorsese at the time, we're kind of at the weird point where he's kind of, I guess he's doing a bit of existentialism around not only religion, which he's been doing since his earliest movies.
Yeah.
But he's dealing with the existentialism of this ever-changing industry. And if you've seen films like The Aviator, you can kind of see him like really trying to harken as much as he could from the past out of it. We also had the problems with Harvey Weinstein.
Wow.
Fucking over Marty at like every turn. That's why Gangs of New York turned out the way it did. So we're getting Marty at like a very interesting time in his career. And I feel a bit conflicted on how this film turns out, because I feel like Marty would have been a really great like meeting of the minds for this movie in adapting Infernal Affairs if he was in a better state of mind and not constantly getting fucked by the Hollywood film industry. Because as a director, as I said, he has like this like huge like crisis with his religious beliefs. We have Last Temptation of Christ, one of the most controversial films of his career, is him dealing with his Christian faith and who Jesus Christ is. And then we have the film he did. What year was it? Was it 2000? 1997. We had Kundun. And we have so many aspects of his career, which is him like dealing with religion and incorporating it in some way into his films. So I think with the aspects of like Judeo-Christian belief could have really translated really well into this. But I feel like maybe it's because of who wrote the script. Who was the person I can blame for this?
William Monahan.
William Monahan.
With some, I've seen some like clips of people saying like Jack Nicholson did a lot of improvising as well. So
yes. We'll get to that part. But it's really interesting to see how this film adapts the Infernal Affairs specifically, even if it does pull from the second movie, which is a prequel, and the third movie, which is a sequel. And then also pulling in some like real life inspirations, more than likely to try to Americanize it more, so that way you can make sense of its Infernal Affairs isms.
Yeah,
into our Geist.
Yeah, because I do like that there are moments. Yes, there are moments that are where you can go, okay, that's the part from Infernal Affairs. That's another part from Infernal Affairs. But it's not as often. It's not like a shot-for-shot remake. There's a lot of differences between the two. And I like that because it does feel like its very own thing, even if it does have similarities in certain scenes.
Yeah. Well, it's like double. It's like an hour more than the other movie.
That's
so it kind of has to.
Yeah, exactly. There's obviously going to be a lot of major differences.
Yeah.
But again, I think it still works for what it is. But yeah, go ahead, Davis.
Oh yeah, like I think the movie definitely works very well as its own thing. I think it is an excellent movie, just about on all fronts. But like uh where it really excels at doing its own thing, there's also parts where it kind of uses the ideas and composition and structure of Infernal Affairs as like a bit of a crutch because um because like going into it after having seen Infernal Affairs, those parts kind of do become obvious, which is weird because like there are other moments that that like it does like its own spin on Infernal Affairs in a way that's either effective or kind of cute. Like the same where Jack Nicholson like destroys Leonardo DiCaprio's arm cast the same way Sam destroys Yan's cast in Infernal Affairs. It's a much longer, like drawn out scene. There's like a completely different context behind as to what's going on. They do have a bit of a similar idea, but like it's doing its own thing with it to the point where um not only is it like basically like a different completely different scene on its own, just the inclusion of the arm cast is like a nice little callback to what it's meant to be referencing.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely.
Do we want to go into spoilers for this one as well? I mean, it's basically the same story.
I mean, it's like a 20-year-old movie.
It's also 20 years old. It's like, it's one of the biggest memes about it is how the ending is just absurd. So yeah.
And it's the scene where Martin Sheen dies that comes to mind. It like yes, it's the exact same as Infernal Affairs, but I feel like it really misunderstood how it was like how Infernal Affairs made a scene like that effective, and it kind of goes back to the idea of how whereas Infernal Affairs it's a movie about internal struggle and uncertainty of oneself. Gosh, how many times have I said that? The Departed, it's very much about bad things happening to bad people. We don't really have that connection
Sure.
with Leo and Matt Damon as much as we do Tony Leung and Andy Lau. And Leo's reaction to Martin Sheen dying seems more like an inconvenience or like a bit of an annoyance because like his first reaction is to like just be pissed off about it.
Yeah.
And also the scene, like I guess it's trying to convey that whereas Tony Leung like lost all connection to society there, like same thing is happening with Leo. The scene doesn't work when you remember that Mark Wahlberg is still alive. Because he's acting as Martin Sheen's right hand man in the film. Mark Wahlberg is another element of this film that I do have a bit of a gripe about because like I feel like if you removed him out of the film completely, it would be a bit closer to processes
microprocesses.
Microprocesses. Just take a shot every time they say the word microprocesses in this movie.
Microprocessors. There's a plan out off of Route 128 of making a bunch of microprocessors. It's like, yeah.
Might as well call this movie The Deprocesses.
The Deprocesses.
I feel like if Mark Wahlberg wasn't in the movie, not only would not much have changed, it would feel a bit closer to the emotional core of Infernal Affairs. Not to suggest that like I want the exact same movie, because I think again I love The Departed as its own thing.
Right.
I feel like in what it set out to do, it could have stuck the landing a bit better. Also want to point out that Mark Wahlberg, you are from Boston. You do not have to put on this kind of accent.
That's just how he talks, man. Yeah. I think I agree. I think Mark Wahlberg did seem a little out of place. I do think the movie kind of uses him as it should, though, because again, when Martin Sheen dies, Mark Wahlberg is so pissed off that he quits So now Leo definitely does not have a connection to the real world anymore. And so I'm fine with that. But yeah, I think I do agree. I do ultimately agree, though. This movie does not have the emotional core that Infernal Affairs has. And that's definitely, I don't know if I want to say that's to its disadvantage, though, because I think I do like the tone of this movie being a little lighter than Infernal Affairs.
yeah.
With Infernal Affairs, it, not that it doesn't have any comedy to it, it absolutely does. It just doesn't have it as prevalent. Whereas I feel like the comedy in this movie is definitely a lot more prevalent. Because Scorsese can do that. You know, he can just implement a lot of comedy. You know, when you think of movies like Goodfellas or Taxi Driver or Wolf of Wall Street, they're not inherent comedies, but they're still very funny at times, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Like,
Yeah.
go ahead.
It's also with that where Jack Nicholson really shines as
Yeah.
Costello in this movie, because not only is he like a complete stark contrast to Sam in Infernal Affairs, who's yeah, he has like a sense of moral ambiguity to him, but you know he ultimately means well and cares about the people that he works with. Jack Nicholson is just a jackass in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of dark humor to this character. There's one famous story about like it's during like the opening sequence of the film. We see him and this other guy like shoot two people on the beach. He was talking about how when they were filming that scene, it was much longer than what was actually shown in the film, because Jack Nicholson did a lot of improv for it.
Yeah.
He was talking about how like um a after they shot the two guys, him and this other character were like just talking about um for lack of a better term, violating their bodies, stealing their money, and cutting them up and dumping them elsewhere. Like,
Yeah, so
like
because the part of that scene is that, like, yeah, they shoot the woman, and Jack Nicholson makes a point to be like, "Huh, she fell funny," and it is a great moment because you think about that throughout the rest of the movie, how he's just like, "Huh, she fell funny." It's like, why would he say that? What was the point? And you think, oh, he's been doing this a long time. And so that just like was weird to him that it happened, and he just has a way of pointing out things that are interesting to him even in his everyday life of murdering and killing people.
yeah,
Yeah,
like it's definitely a role that Jack Nicholson had like a complete blast
yeah,
with Scorsese on. There's another popular story about the making of this film, where there's the scene at the bar where him and Leo are talking to each other. Leo gives Costello the gun. They're talking about how they have a rat on their side, and Costello's looking at the gun, and then all of a sudden he like points it at Bill and like starts talking to him nonchalantly. So the part where Nicholson points the gun at Leo, that was not scripted. He just decided to do that just to really elevate the tension of the scene.
yeah.
Should have shot him.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't have made the movie better, but it would have been more interesting.
Do you like older women, Billy?
Do you like
Do you like it when they're older than 25?
One thing I really liked about this movie, this is like a very minor thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with the movie, but it's during the beginning when you see Jack Nicholson, and he's playing a younger version of himself. But I like that he's mostly in the shadows and you don't really see him. But I like that because it's a very good way of having him still play the same character without having to de-age him in a very obnoxious way, because that was one of the biggest problems with The Irishman, how you had Robert De Niro playing 40-year-old Robert De Niro, but it was so obvious that it was 80-year-old Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
I still like The Irishman from what I remember, but that was a weird part. Whereas like here, you know, the filmmaking was a lot more clever. You didn't just throw CGI all over Jack Nicholson, or yeah, you didn't have the fucking backwards hat Saw.
They should have done that.
They should have done that. No, but like they kept it a little more subtle, and like, yeah, you know, it's Jack Nicholson, and you know, realistically he's not that young, but at least it's not in a way where it's making it totally obvious. Where you have, I mean, the CGI was not there at the time. I mean, this is what, 2006, the same year as X-Men: The Last Stand, where they just went in and just removed all the wrinkles off of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen in that one flashback scene. It's like, yeah, I'm glad they went with what they did.
Speaking of X-Men,
Yeah,
I love that. I love the bit where he just gives young Matt Damon, a fucking comic of like Wolverine.
Yeah, Wolverine comic. You like comic books, kid?
Like, I also think it's funny how young Matt Damon in that scene is dressed up exactly like Ben 10.
Oh yeah. You look like you're Ben 10 there, Matt. What's up with that? I was in The Terror, directed by Roger Corman.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson's he's such a fucking clown in this movie.
Oh yeah, no, if it wasn't Jack Nicholson, I don't think the role would be as entertaining.
Yeah,
like he makes this role.
Yeah, he looks ugly. Mm-hmm. He looks old. He looks fat.
It's great. I love it. Bald. Yeah.
And awesome. He dies like a fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
His fat ass just falls into the fucking.
He falls into like a backhoe or whatever. It's just like vomiting blood. It's great.
Yeah, I do.
Wearing his chili courtside at a basketball game.
Yeah.
Wearing his fucking Irish t-shirt. It's great. I've known people who look like that in Boston. So yeah, he plays the part well.
Yeah, he's definitely like the highlight of this movie. Mm-hmm. He's like the one who's clearly having the most fun because he just gets to
laugh. This isn't national TV. This isn't reality TV.
Like I made a note when we were watching with Davis that like during most of this movie he's like saying a slur like every like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. He's on screen.
Yeah,
like it's like he's like saying this with his whole breath.
Yeah,
like it's so funny how he's like the one, like everyone in this movie just slurs as much as they can, and Jack Nicholson is just like going full ham on the slurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Boston.
Yeah, like the movie does a really good job showing just kind of how terrifying it is that Costello is such a disgusting person who also happens to have so much power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's very much like in character for him just to like carry himself about just so carelessly, just not thinking about like what others might feel except his own.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like everything he does is in his own best interest.
And he talks like this.
He talks like Jack Nicholson, but occasionally he'll say Harvard. Oh, we're going to Fenway to see the Red Sox. So he does do the Boston accent, even in his Jack Nicholson voice, and I did appreciate that. I was like,
yeah,
it was great hearing him not pronounce his R's. It made me prideful. It made me filled with pride to hear acting legend.
My Nicholson in the theater.
Yeah. It filled me with pride to hear acting legend Jack Nicholson with a Boston accent. It was great.
Oh god, that scene in the porno theater.
That
is so fucking stupid. Why did he do that? why did he just have a fucking
maybe it's because I've gotten cunt my whole life, but I never understood the idea of jacking off in a theater.
And he's just like fucking like hollering and swinging around this fucking this dildo.
Yeah.
And fucking Matt Damon's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. And he just doesn't care. Yeah. And he's like, well, I own it anyway. Yeah. What are they?
Why did you want to come here anyway? I own the place.
there's another bit that I really liked with Jack Nicholson was whenever he's watching The King and I. It's the that musical play that he's watching,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
he's just like fucking. Well, we didn't find this out until we were watching it. He was just like kind of watching, like watching it, and then he just has these two women beside him,
Yeah.
and he just looks so fucking buzzed. Yeah, I I'm not I have never, as far as I remember, have ever seen this musical play. Uh but I am curious how this has like a significance towards the movie itself.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm not the king. I'm not I. So
And I'm not Marty.
I'm not Marty. I'm not Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson. I'm not those two girls.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, but again, I
I
think
wasn't there.
I think it's similar to Infernal Affairs, where like you have this thing that you're like, oh, I wonder what the significance of it is. So like you can interpret it either on your own, or maybe Marty did have something to say about that. So it's interesting. But like, regardless of even if it, if you get its inclusion or not, I still like the scene of him watching the play and then immediately going in to do like a whole bunch of blow with these two women. It's like
Yeah,
it's still a really fun scene regardless.
yeah. We don't get Leo snorting coke though, so
Mm-hmm.
it points out for that.
Points off for
Fucking points out. I do appreciate how much of this movie, when it's its own thing, is like really, really good.
very
Um,
Bostonian.
yeah, very, very Bostonian. Unfortunately, there was no Duncan.
No Duncan.
I didn't
That's the
see
one.
any.
That's the one
I
thing
didn't,
it didn't got. It didn't have a bunch of
no,
Duncans
no,
everywhere.
no,
Yeah,
no Duncan.
it is kind of interesting how this movie implies that Boston is the American equivalent to Hong Kong.
I mean,
I mean,
is it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just where the massacre happened.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, the massacre. Yeah. Well, I mean
Okay.
that. I mean,
I
because
thought
The Tea Party.
yeah, the tea.
I thought it was, I thought I was making sure I didn't say marathon.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's different. That also happened, but that's different. But yeah, no, yeah, the Boston Tea Party did happen. The Boston Massacre
Yeah.
happened. Yeah. So yeah, no, Boston is still significant to American history.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess not many people know it outside of that.
I guess it. I mean, I guess it's because I guess if we're gonna try to pull some straws, I guess it's because that's where like we started committing our most open acts of rebellion
Mm-hmm.
against Britain.
Yes. Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah,
point.
like I said, the massacre, the Tea Party.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where a lot of like the major crutches for us leaving the empire was.
Yeah, it was in Boston.
Yeah, it was in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Have
So
we been misinterpreting these movies this whole time? Like the message of Infernal Affairs and Departed is actually fuck Britain.
Ooh,
yes,
there you go.
or maybe it's fuck China. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yes. Like Jack Nicholson, we'll call him. I can't say that on a podcast. I can't say that. But
anyway,
yeah. Anyway,
moving on.
I do. I like with Infernal Affairs. I really do like the soundtrack for this movie as well. It's like
same.
It's that trademark Marty style where you get that like licensed music affair, but then you get a lot of this like mix of like classical music and then like new music as well.
Yeah.
And it like woves it pretty well. Granted, like I don't I still prefer Infernal Affairs only having like one or two licensed musics. But it's just a preference of like, I guess in context of what it's pulling from, not me having a problem with Marty's style. I obviously don't.
Yeah.
I like most of his movies.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love his filmmaking style because he does let it out here more than he really does in a lot of his other movies. In this period, I really like the transition to the station with Matt Damon, and it's like starts off in this like lens, and then it like opens up, to show the full station.
Yes.
Like that's
Yeah.
so incredibly like a Marty style, like old Hollywood style transition.
Yeah, it's great. And I know that
Like
building too.
yeah, of course.
Of course.
And you know a lot of the buildings in this movie.
Oh yeah, every single one of them.
Yeah. Even that one.
Even that one, yeah. Even
Yeah.
even the one you're thinking, audience. Yep,
Yeah,
that one.
I mean, yeah, that one. You know, Fenway Park.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
the one
Fenway
Godzilla
Park.
destroys in that one movie.
Yes. We like that movie.
It's a great
It's in
movie.
Boston.
I love
Boston.
it. Yeah, I love
like
King
that.
of
Yeah,
Monsters.
But yeah, I guess to bank on like a bit of problems I have with this movie, I feel like compared to Infernal like puts you like right into it,
Mhm.
and you feel like you're part of the mess.
Yeah.
While with this one, you're more like an observer.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's more of like you're a secondary person watching all this go down versus in that one where it feels very first person. Like
You're in the
we're not
trenches.
really yeah. But like while I do appreciate how much this movie tries to go into length to like get to when Infernal Affairs actually starts. Like I don't what point does the Infernal Affairs actually start in this movie? It's like
Yeah,
almost like
it's
an hour in.
yes. Okay, so so that whole scene with the drug trade that's happening in Infernal Affairs, that occurs in the first 17 minutes of the film, whereas in The Departed, it takes place an hour in.
And even then, they already know that they have moles in each other. Like I think within the first 5 minutes of The Departed, each one is just like we have a mole in our ranks. It's like
Yeah,
oh,
like
okay. So
the way it rearranges stuff is very interesting.
Mhm.
Like the interrogation with that mafia member is like later than it is in Infernal Affairs, because
Yes.
in Infernal Affairs, that's like near the start of the movie.
Yeah.
So and it still flows kind of like well with the way it's been rearranged.
Mhm.
Like I can't say that like if the movie did a shot for shot like a Funny Games or a Psycho did, that would have really improved it, because I feel like
No.
kind of how Infernal works with The Departed, you kind of need the sequences to work out the way they are.
Yeah.
Because like I said, this is not like a direct remake. It's taking beats.
Yeah, it's taking beats.
And then trying to do its own thing when it needs to, and that's a good chunk of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know that full first hour, it's its own movie. And then once it hits the rest of the movie, it's Infernal Affairs, but it's still doing these own unique isms that you'd really expect from a Martin Scorsese feature.
Yeah.
Which is like I appreciate that, because even if there are like a few Marty movies in this era that don't really feel like him, this one, because the kind of setup for Infernal Affairs is very much something that Marty is like already versed in.
Yeah.
He's more or less feels like he's right at home.
Yeah.
He's like doing exactly what you would expect Marty to do. Like we brought up the scene with the cast, like the way it's done, that feels very Martin Scorsese. Like the way it's framed, the way that the blocking's done, and it's very nice to see that it is trying to avoid just being like very safe with those approaches.
Yeah, definitely.
Even when in terms of the script, it feels very much like that. But that's just kind of how Marty works when he's given the leeway to actually do his own things. So, and it helps that Jack Nicholson is there, so he's going to do anything he wants.
Yeah.
You know, he's old. He can do what he wants, I guess. And
I was just gonna say, you brought up Psycho earlier, so the '98 Psycho, about the movie that is just blatantly a shot for shot remake of Psycho.
Yes,
I fucking hate that movie. But for good reason, because even though it's a shot for shot remake, it definitely fails at capturing that same magic that the original Psycho had. Same thing with the Old Boy remake. It is even though it's not shot for shot, it is definitely beat for beat, and it doesn't do it justice. Whereas here, like, yeah, I prefer that it's not a shot for shot or beat for beat. Like, it's taking it and doing its own thing with it. I prefer that. It definitely doesn't do that stuff as well, but I think that I'm willing to make a trade-off for it being trying to be its own thing.
Yeah. It doesn't, at times I do feel like the movie's a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this, like I said earlier, like this movie is a whole hour longer.
Yes.
But it's at least trying. It almost feels like the parts with Infernal Affairs are like the things that are tacked on for runtime over like the new stuff that we made. So I guess it's kind of a movie that it's having its own identity crisis in that respect.
Very
because
thematically appropriate.
Because it's like trying to like balance having its own approach to a lot of the basic elements of Infernal Affairs, but then its weaknesses are when it's trying to be Infernal Affairs. And the parts, even if the most like iconic bit of this movie is the rooftop scene that's in Infernal Affairs, that part still kind of plays its own interesting turn on it.
Yes.
By having more like pieces on the board.
Yes.
By having it now involve 4 people over just 3 people.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anthony Anderson, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Great job. He did a really great job.
Yeah, he should go on to be in the Transformers movie. Hey, wait a minute.
Yes, and he was.
And he was.
The next year.
Shut up, Grandma.
Prune juice. So maybe you do have prune juice.
I was gonna say,
I need you to shut up, Grandma.
Oh, classic. Yeah, I think even it, because like it still fits as a Scorsese film, because when we think Scorsese, you think of his crime movies, stuff like Goodfellas, Casino, The Irishman, and I think this one really fits in well with that, tone wise. And and it is long, admittedly. Yes, that is what I mean. Again, Casino and Irishman are upwards of 3 hours long. Like, Scorsese just kind of does that from time to time. I don't know why he does. He just does. He just feels like it.
He's got stuff to say, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
But anyway,
I meant to bring this up before, but I actually have a bit of a funny story as to how I I don't want to say came about this movie, but like have heard of it.
I do want to hear this because you guys have been hyping this up, like how you came about this movie.
Okay,
I want to know.
Back when YouTube poops were pretty rampant,
Already good
before
beginning.
2015, where the infamous adpocalypse occurred and many famous YouTube poops got purged from the internet entirely. There was a Michael Rosen YouTube poop that the name just will not come to me for whatever reason, but like the one thing I remember about it is that the editor sentence mixed Michael Rosen into saying The Departed, and somehow not knowing for so many years, my dad had a DVD of The Departed, which I have sitting next to me right now. Which then I heard that is the remake of Infernal Affairs. So I owe my love and appreciation for not just Infernal Affairs, but both of these movies, all because of some stupid Michael Rosen YouTube poop.
Dude, isn't that always where it begins in YouTube poops? Yeah, that sounds
right. Yeah, it's where the poop is.
That's incredible. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that was worth it because we got to talk about a YouTube poop. So that's a great origin story for The Departed.
A YouTube poop it's probably not on the internet anymore.
That's such a shame. I hate that. But
yeah,
yeah,
the Departed.
the Departed.
So another bit that I find a little confusing about what it changes is it kind of combines Sammy Chang and Kelly Chen's character into one
I did
to kind of
notice
make
that.
this like
Yeah.
love triangle, and it's kind of weird
Mhm.
because I do I because I pieced together why they did it is because they removed that scene in the shop, so they now don't have a crutch to have that scene where Vera Farmiga finds out that he's the mole. So they kind of need to have that love triangle to make it work now.
Sure.
But at the same time, it kind of the triangle feels a bit forced. Like,
Yeah. I don't
it
buy Leo. I don't buy Vera falling for Leo. I buy her getting charmed by Matt. I'm fine with that because I think their relationship works fine there. It does feel weird that there's like a love triangle aspect with that. I like their scenes when she's being the therapist to him. I think those are great scenes, and I wish the movie played more into that rather than making it a love triangle. You know?
yeah.
Yeah, because it is weird that it's a love triangle, and I'm fine with them combining both characters. I'm fine with her being the character that is being the therapist for Leo, but also being the love interest for Matt. I think that is still a
Yeah.
good and necessary character in the movie. Um, but I do agree. It's the love triangle aspect that makes it kind of weird. But then again, it's
Yeah.
Vera Farmiga. I mean, she's totally smoking. I don't blame Leo for going for her.
Yeah. She's from fucking Clifton, New Jersey.
Oh, she's not a Bostonian, even though she's been in The
No.
Departed and King of the Monsters, two of the greatest movies out of Boston
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dude,
And she was also in The Conjuring.
dude,
I'm pretty sure that's in Mass too.
dude, my queen. No, Vera, no.
No, Vera. See,
Oh,
that's
oh,
she's from Jersey. She's like
no.
another guest who's been on this podcast.
Oh,
Shinra Vera.
Shin
He's from Jersey too.
Shinra Jira, go fuck yourself. Shadow ban me.
But
Oh,
yeah, like I just
Also
find
goes
that
into like the most unrealistic scene in the movie where where Leo is somehow into a woman older than 25.
well, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, we
Yeah.
could pretend she's
And then
25.
like I do I do think like them having sex is a like what? Like
Yeah.
where is this coming from?
Yeah, it's
Why?
purely just to get a scene of Vera Farmiga in her panties. It's like
Yeah, which
cool, I
thanks.
guess. Yeah, thanks, but
Yeah,
also, what does this
thanks.
have to do with the movie? Yeah.
Well, it's because we haven't had sex yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't call me on that. Uh,
If only it was Anthony Anderson.
yes,
See, no.
yes.
See, I'd still want to see that because it's like, wow, you were able to do that, Martin? Okay, sure.
Nobody on her carpet, especially police.
Especially no police. But yeah, like besides that, I guess because we were bringing up Anthony Anderson, the way, and I brought up the them doing the rooftop scene. I really like how they use Anthony Anderson's character in the context of that scene
Hmm.
because they have him show up earlier, and you think that he's gonna, with Infernal Affairs in the mind, you think he's gonna play the role that you see there, but he doesn't.
No.
Uh, and they use him knowing Leo's character as a crutch for the reason why he hasn't shot him already.
Right.
And
Exactly.
he does, and they know him and he respects him.
Yeah.
So it kind of plays into that an actual element of like how like there is people in this force who are not totally corrupt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that how we had those entire like the entire beginning of Leo's character, Anderson's character, all those other white boys, and it's paying off you remembering that first like couple like half hour of the movie, and it's like it's still making everything in it purposeful, even if some of it in terms of the context of change to its original source is a bit questionable. And I still think while this ending is not this part of the ending is not that shocking compared to Infernal, it's still like it adds onto it really well.
Yes.
But it doesn't hit emotionally because you don't feel so strongly about all these characters, because you don't feel like you like really know them in the respect of their humanity. And it doesn't help that like how the film reinterprets the funeral scene for Chan with Leo's character. You don't really get that sense of what Matt Damon's character feels. And it's also because the way the film is framing it, we're kind of like so like far apart from him, especially when the funeral's over. He just kind of looks like Matt Damon, just like having like a monotone expression. Like even if it like it's still a good scene, it kind of lacks.
You definitely more
these
sad
cores.
on principle that these characters die
Yeah.
rather than you're actually sad. Like, yeah, I'm disappointed that Leo's dead, but I'm not torn up about it like I would be when Tony Leung died in the original movie.
Yeah.
And then with
Yeah,
Matt Damon, you're not really rooting for him to be the better person, you know, like you would be with Andy Lau. You're more so just like, oh, I guess he's improving himself, but it really more so comes from a place of selfishness rather than he's at least trying.
yeah.
And then when he dies, I mean, the thing I like about the fact that all these characters are dying in the climax is it just becomes absurd, and that in and of itself is pretty comedic. It's weird to say that like, oh, people getting shot is funny, but it is
funny.
It is funny. It generally is. Like by the time like Anderson gets shot, by the time like the other guy gets shot in the building, like Matt Damon just shoots him like no problem. It's like, all right, come on, this is absurd. And then it's compounded in its absurdity when Matt Damon goes in the final scene of the movie when he goes back to his apartment and there's Mark Wahlberg about to shoot him, and Matt Damon just goes, okay. Like he just accepts it.
All right.
Yeah, that's a great scene. I love that he just accepts his fate in that 1 second, and then he just gets shot and then he's dead.
Yeah, you know, that it would have ended way quicker if Matt Damon was Vietnamese, just saying.
Well, oh yeah, at one point he's the one who stabs a guy in the middle of Boston, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, I believe it more so if it was Mark Wahlberg, but whatever.
yeah. Well, you know,
Yeah.
you didn't have any Bud Light. You didn't
Right.
have like, he didn't know there was a transformer.
He did,
you know,
yeah.
you know.
Jokes I don't get about because I haven't seen Age of Extinction yet.
And will you?
Not
It's
yet.
got the length. You know, it's actually like, isn't it like it's like 2 minutes longer than this movie?
It's 2 minutes longer than The Depart. Are you serious? Oh no!
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
it's the longest.
no.
It's the longest. It's the longest Bayformers film.
Wow, longer than
I'm
The
almost
Departed.
positive.
And I'm sure it's even
Almost.
emptier than The Departed. Whereas The Departed actually makes up for its runtime. I will say I like it, but I cannot imagine Age of Extinction actually justifying that runtime.
Coming soon.
That's absurd.
Coming soon.
Oh wow.
Hey, absurdity.
Yeah.
You know, like the ending of this movie.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I wonder if like that's kind of like Marty playing into a bit of like nihilism.
Maybe.
That like, you know,
Probably.
these people in some way kind of all deserve to die.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I guess it's like these people are not all innocent. Oh wait, no, I just repeated myself. Like none of these people. Yeah, repeat yourself. Calendar. Fucking. Where was I? It's kind of reminds me that like how Marty plays out a lot of these kind of endings is that like even like the most decent of people get fucked anyway.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of what he's playing at, is like that kind of like nihilistic view of like that all these people deserved what's coming to them because they just are so fucking stupid.
Yeah. I mean, the tagline of the movie on Letterboxd, and also one of the biggest themes that's like, kind of prevalent throughout the movie, is cops are criminals. When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference? And that's kind of the point of like all these deaths. It's like, it doesn't really matter. What's the difference? They're all going to die anyway.
Yeah. Like, it's not like it's like an Alien 3 type of nihilism where it's not trying to say like this all fucking sucks and you're all fucking stupid for like thinking it.
Yeah.
It's more so like this is just kind of how it is.
Yes.
And it's just what we do about it.
Yes.
Yeah. Or versus like something like a Funny Games where that movie openly makes fun of you.
Right.
And it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I hate that movie.
You love it, actually. It's your favorite movie, even.
No.
You know what movie is actually good? Alien Resurrection. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We love Alien Resurrection.
We do. It's better than Funny Games. I haven't seen Funny Games.
Yes. It's weird and it's sexy.
Yeah.
Yes. But regardless.
Sure.
I still like, I don't like it as much as you guys do, but I still think it's a pretty great movie.
Yeah.
Like, all things considered, like, it's the best Marty movie of this era.
Yeah.
Which is kind of doesn't say a lot.
Right. Yeah,
but it does show a testament of when Marty gets a movie that kind of plays into things he's good at. He can like really pull. Yeah. He can pull the stops.
Yeah.
And it has like the weakest part. I would honestly say that the weakest members of the cast are like our two mains. I feel like everyone else is like pulling way more stops than them.
Absolutely.
Even Mark Wahlberg, the like stupidest character in this entire movie.
I mean, it helps that he's from Boston, so he can have this accent and he actually talks like these people.
He can have that accent. He can sound a little fruity when he talks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. I just really liked hearing all these major actors use Boston accents, like Martin Sheen especially. Because it's funny, I've been watching through The West Wing, and Martin Sheen is the president in that movie, in that show. Sorry, he's the president in that show. Even though he's from New Hampshire in the show, he doesn't have like this thick Boston accent. But in this movie where he's from Boston, he's just like, "All right, you're a cop, are you not?" It's just like, all right, it's just so funny.
This is reminding me of like this really great review from this
Uncle
person.
Ben, what are you talking like that?
Where this person goes, "I'm always a bit nervous talking about my past publicly, just because people can have such a weird sense of familiarity. But I don't know, fuck it. I'm proud of my work. So I was the dialect coach on this movie, but only for the word microprocesses. I taught everyone how to say the word microprocesses in the funniest way possible, and I did an amazing job. Didn't get enough time with Vera, obviously, but the past is the past. If your thought to this is something along the lines of, that doesn't make sense, or weren't you around 10 at the time of production? To you, I say shame. Shame on you. What did I happen to listen to women's stories? Christ." And then they go on to say that they love the bit of Alec Baldwin hugging a man and saying the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
That's Boston for you, baby.
Yeah.
That's Boston for you.
Yeah.
Like,
see,
I do.
And that review was written by one Ayo Edebiri.
Yeah.
Yes.
Writer of the new Barney movie. That's gonna be exciting.
Honestly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at
it.
Yeah, look it up. I think that's one of the biggest reasons I definitely gravitate towards this movie. Not just my bias of being a Bostonian, born and raised, but I like that the movie really delves into that Bostonian culture. I think if it didn't really embrace the Bostonian angle that much, like, I think that's what gives it its identity in this movie. More so than it if had been like some generic American remake. Like, it goes hardcore and being like, this is a movie about Boston. I guess it could have been from any other city, but I think really making it take place in Boston and really delving into that culture makes it a lot better than if it wasn't. Like, it, because I'm just thinking of like stuff like the Old Boy remake. Where does that take place? I don't even fucking remember, but it just takes place in generic Americana, and it just does not have an identity to itself. Whereas here, you have something. I love the city of Boston.
Yeah, yeah, I do love how much it like really reminds you that you're in fucking Boston.
Yeah.
Like one of the big points that the movie makes earlier is like what's the building with the brass roof that
That's City Hall.
Matt Damon likes looking at? Yeah, the City Hall.
Yeah, that's City Hall.
We have it early in the movie where he like really likes looking at City Hall, and then he has an apartment that specifically looks out on City Hall. Like it's there's a sense of like what's the word? I'm losing it. No, it wouldn't be patriotism.
Pride.
Pride. I guess national pride.
Yeah.
I guess we'll use national. Towards like this city, like we kind of see like the ins and outs of this city of Boston, and like it does. I guess that helps that it has like a near 3-hour runtime. You feel like you're getting like a huge travelogue of Bostonian like locations. Like, oh, we're here by the beach, look how beautiful it is. You can shoot 2 people on it.
Yeah.
It's like and they
brown,
one might fall funny.
Yeah.
Like you see the beauty of Boston, and you also see how like fucking disgusting it looks.
Well, yeah, because as somebody from Boston, yes, there are nice places there, but also it is a fucking disgusting city. It is so gross. Like, I went to college in Boston. I would take the train in every day. Yuck. It's pretty gross. But I mean, what major city in the world is it? You know, like cities are inherently gross. So
yeah,
but Boston especially, fucking it stinks.
It stinks.
It stinks. Yes, Mr. Sherman, everything stinks.
Stinks, and I don't like it.
But I'm really glad it does that, because if you're a masshole, you even if you're someone like Davis here, who's not from Mass, docs. So all you think of when you think of Mass is Boston and the COD. You kind of see why Boston's like as revered and like attached to Mass the way it is, because like it kind of represents everything that like Mass is. Like we have very beautiful like parts of our state, and we just have like utter shitholes.
Yeah.
And like abandoned buildings, because we're one of the oldest members of the Union.
I mean, we are quite literally I'm pretty sure we are the oldest major American city in the country, which is why our roads are all fucked up, and we're not on a grid system. Like every major city in America at some level is part of a grid system, because you have like, streets going one way, streets going perpendicular to the other. We don't have that in Boston, because again, we just kind of settled here, and everyone was just like, we'll just put our shit over here and just did whatever the fuck we wanted. And so then
that's Mass.
And then it got so bad that by the time I guess they got to New York, they're like, let's do this a little better. So they just did like a bit of they did grids, and like even as far out as San Francisco, they do grids. Whereas like here, no, nothing. It's like all over the fucking place.
When they got to New York, they're like, let's put the white people here. Let's put the black people here. In Boston, it's like, I guess we're here.
I guess we're just gonna dump the Irish here.
The Irish go here. The Italians go here.
And that's it. That's all the people here.
Yeah, Boston, a major import of immigrants during the 1800s. That's 1820s. Look it up. It's and the film emphasizes like these cultures.
Yeah,
like we have Irish people, we have Italian people, we have fuckers from Providence. Those fucking assholes.
Those fucking Rhode Islanders.
Yeah. Like you get kind of all angles of this city.
Yeah.
Like you kind of understand Boston
Yeah.
when you've watched this movie.
Mhm.
Even if there's no Jack Nicholson's running around.
No.
Being old, fat, ugly, wearing stupid shirts, getting shot in a construction site.
Jacking up in a
Snort.
porn theater with a dildo.
Yes. You know, owning porno theaters.
Yeah.
Talking to
Doing
Martin
his Chili
Sheen and Mark.
courtside.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking to Mark Wahlberg's.
I mean, again though, yeah, these are they still feel like real people because the accents they put on, like these are people I grew up surrounded by. Like people just had these accents, and I trusted these adults growing up. Like people just talk like that around here, you know. And it wasn't until I got to be an adult that I realized it is kind of a weird accent, isn't it? It's like, you don't think about that when you're a kid. You're just like, oh yeah, people just talk like that.
Yeah, and that's the only accent people think of when they think of Mass.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm over here in the middle of butt fuck nowhere.
Yeah.
In a fucking college town, and I sound more like people from Albany.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's more than one accent in
Mhm.
Mass. Not Hal's. There's mine too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll still use the Bostonian.
Yeah.
For fun though.
It's a fun accent to use. Just I know it's
It's
stereotypical, but it is fun to not pronounce your O's and just be like, yeah, we're going to Fenway.
yeah,
We're going to
you
see
know,
a Sox game.
or not pronounce your R's, not emphasize your T's.
Yeah. Listen, guy.
Yeah.
Listen. Yeah. It's fun. Yeah.
Put on your mittens. Button up your buttons.
It's going to be 20 degrees out there.
It's always fucking 20 degrees.
I'm gonna get my fucking. I'm still gonna get an iced at Dunkin's though.
Yeah. Davis, what did you think as an outsider to our culture?
Mm-hmm.
I really do appreciate just how like intricate like the world building is in this movie. I feel like that might be the one thing this movie has over Infernal Affairs, because I mean, yeah, in Infernal Affairs, they're in Hong Kong, but it's also not like the main focus of the story. The main focus is these characters, whereas the Departed did a really good job bringing so much life to Boston. Like you see all different kinds of people, you see all different kinds of a of buildings, structures, and just how these different facets of society just kind of function. It felt very grounded, it felt very tangible, believable, and the movie really excelled at that. And of course there's like the famous fun fact about this movie and how whenever there's a letter X on screen, it foreshadows that someone or a specific character is going to die. I like how it's not very in your face about it.
Right.
It uses it very naturally. Like when Leo's in the walkway in the airport. There's those structures that's that's holding like the windows together. They're in the shape of a letter X.
Yeah.
Or when they're in that abandoned building, there are wooden planks forming the letter X. Or those like steel construction platforms and their supports, they're forming a letter X.
Yeah. It's little details that are not obvious, but they're still subtle enough that if you notice them, you're like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, like this movie really knows how to use its environment to its advantage. And again, like it does so very, very wonderfully. I feel like whereas with Infernal Affairs you feel like you're like in the drama and the action with the characters, I feel like while you don't have as much of a connection to the characters in The Departed, you do have a stronger connection to the city as a whole.
Yeah. It's also just nice that a crime movie takes place in Boston and not just New York or Los Angeles. I mean, look, movies that take place in Chicago, yeah, because those are the big three in America: is New York, Chicago, LA. So it's just nice that another movie takes place in Boston. It's always good
Yeah.
to say.
National pride.
National pride.
I know Lily touched upon it earlier, but I think the weakest part of The Departed, especially when it comes to comparing it to Infernal Affairs. Now, this can definitely be argued that this wasn't like the main point of The Departed, but it's the way spirituality plays a part in both films. Whereas in Infernal Affairs, it's very much the core essence of the film. Whereas in The Departed, there's like sprinkles of spirituality and like these characters like connection with Christianity. Specifically that the more Catholic denomination. Um, it doesn't necessarily add much to the film, and like as Lily mentioned before, it definitely could have been stronger if Marty was the one who was writing those elements, because like having seen The Last Temptation of Christ, now speaking as someone who like grew up Christian, like um despite what other motherfuckers might say, I think it was a very excellent depiction of of Christianity, all things considered. It captures it really well from a very human point of view, and I feel like if he kind of like went with that mindset when it came to The Departed, it would have made for something that felt a lot more thematically stronger, tangible, and a lot closer to to the essence of Infernal Affairs. But as much as I might have my gripes about it, it still does a great job doing its own thing. And
Sure.
again, it can be argued that it's not like the point of the story, but like comparing it to Infernal Affairs, it does feel weird how it's just kind of there.
Sure. Yeah. If there's like a big thing we can take away from both these movies, it's that I would definitely say Infernal Affairs is the better made movie. Um, Whereas The Departed, I just like a lot. One, because of my bias for Boston, but also just because I think, as an American remake, considering how hit or miss those can be, I think this one still does solid enough work. Not enough to make it better, but not in a way, but in a way that still makes its own thing. But regardless, Infernal Affairs, I would definitely say, is the better film.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
The Blu-ray. I have it on Blu-ray. I don't remember where I got this Blu-ray, but it's a little scuffed up, I gotta be honest, which is really funny. But it played really well, and it looks great on Blu-ray quality. It does have a 4K, so I don't know. Maybe I'd be okay with upgrading to 4K, but I think for now, I want to keep it on Blu-ray. And I just want to have it in the collection regardless, just because I liked it a lot. Again, Boston. I love any movie. Well, I don't love any movie that takes place in Boston because you get stuff like Black Mass, which wasn't very good.
Or like Black Ass.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
But or Whack Ass.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Whack Ass. No, The Departed is much better than Whack Ass. So yeah, no, this is definitely has a place in my collection. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, as said before, I do own The Departed on DVD. For some reason. I just never bothered to upgrade to Blu-ray or 4K. I might just like hang on to it till the end of time.
There you go.
I don't know, like because I mean, as I've also said before, not only do I have that weird personal connection to it because of YouTube Poop,
yeah,
it was also it also belonged to my dad, and I don't mean to get super heavy all of a sudden. We lost him last year, and I feel like it's it's up to me to kind of make sure I continue to take good care of it.
Yeah. Oh, I hear that. Yeah, there's plenty of movies that my dad gave me that I still hold on to. So totally.
I pirated it.
There you go. Were you listening to I'm Shipping Up to Boston while pirating it?
I turned on my VPN.
I guess before we wrap up,
firewall.
yeah, we should talk
I
about
actually
Shipping Up to
have that
Boston.
song in my workout playlist.
Yeah, so I'm very mixed on that song because I feel as though it is very stereotypical Boston, and I feel like I've known a lot of people from Boston that fucking hate that song. But yet it'll still play at Gillette, it'll still play at Fenway because it's like the Boston sports team songs that you just play during sports teams. And it's like, you know what? Watching it in the context of the movie, I'm like, all right, I like it. Fine, it's fine.
I as someone from Dallas, Texas, I guess that would be our equivalent to Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah, just like stereotypical, like, oh, this is, yeah. But you know what? I've grown on it. It's fine. I'm not going to be one of those pessimistic Bostonians that's just like, oh, I fucking hate that people think we don't pronounce our I's. They think we're all just shipping up to Boston. It's like, you know what? I'll play into the stereotype because it can be funny. That's why I still go to Dunkin' Donuts. So, yeah, it's fine. But yeah. Lili,
I'm no better. I'll still stop at like Whataburger and Buc-ee's at any opportunity I have.
There you go. Sorry, Lili, you said you pirated it. I guess you're not going to keep it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can't keep
it. I mean, I don't own either movies clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll still buy them.
Yeah.
With money.
Yeah, when you have it. Of course.
Yeah, when I have the money, if anything, the process I went through is to ensure whether or not I can justify buying it. And well, I'm justified in buying them.
There you go.
So, sue me, Warner Brothers. You can be like fucking Amazon and send me a fucking C&D for torrenting fucking Killers of the Flower Moon, but I still fucking did it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, any excuse to make sure David Zaslav loses money is good enough.
Yes. But on top of that, he can't stop me from watching The Blowout with Porky Pig and the Unabomber.
Yeah, well, we were waiting for Davis early on, like before we started recording. Me and Lili just hopped in the call and we just started watching Looney Tunes because I've been sick and I've just been watching a bunch of Looney Tunes cartoons because I needed something easy to watch the past 24 hours. And so then it's like, well, might as well continue. So we just started watching a bunch of mid-30s cartoons from Looney Tunes. William popped in, of course, and boy, that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we recorded one of them and then Discord crashed out, so we lost some of it. I'll see if I can put like maybe the highlights at the end of this episode. How about that, Lili?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just lost media.
Yeah, otherwise it's just lost media. But yeah, the Blowout was definitely the best one, where it was the Unabomber and Porky Pig had to fucking stop him.
He got those ice cream sodas.
He did. He got a lot of ice cream sodas. Yeah.
Yeah, $2,000 reward ice cream sodas.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot
in
1935.
It was a lot. Yeah. So, all right then. Lili, why don't you start things off by ending things off? Shout out your stuff. You've been here before, but shout out your stuff anyway. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Letterboxd. You can find me on Blue Sky. 982 Blue Sky Social. You can find me on X. You can find me anywhere. I write for Kaiju United. I am working on a piece on Norai 2005 movie by Koji Shiraishi. Very good movie. Very good. I have a few other things I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be scanning some theater pamphlets that I have. It'll be out when it's out.
And we like that.
And we like that. It'll be out when it's out.
Good work ethic. Nice. Yeah. Anything else?
It was so good when Irelanders, the Great
The
Irelanders,
Great
was there.
Iron is. It's okay. All right, Davis, this is your first time here, so shout out your stuff, dude. Where can people find you?
All right. So, my name is Davis Madole. I am
Yeah. Who?
uh, you know who that is. I am also known as Titan Goji on YouTube. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. Recently, I did videos on Gundam G Quack the Beginning. I also did videos on the newest Naja 2, which is an excellent film. I also did a video on its 1979 counterpart. And on the topic of Hong Kong cinema, I did a video on Love on Delivery, which is a very funny little spoof on Ultraman, Kinnikuman, Devilman, Garfield, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, all the stuff that we really enjoy. It's got Stephen Chow in it, so that's definitely something. I am also a strength coach for those who happen to be listening in the Dallas area. Me and my brothers, we run studioperformance.dtx on Instagram as well as Facebook. So again, that is studioperformance.dtx. DTX stands for Dallas, Texas.
Oh.
I am also a self-published author now. Like last year, I published my debut novel, Titanius, Book One, Rise of the Titans. Best way I can describe it. For those who are not giant nerds like me, imagine Pacific Rim meets God of War. I basically take Greek mythology and put like a 70s and 80s super robot a spin on it, as well as paying tribute to a lot of kaiju cinema, as well as like other tokusatsu like Ultraman. I am currently working on the sequel. I'm like a good way into the first draft, and it's looking to be bigger and better than the first book. And it's funny we're talking about Infernal Affairs. There is going to be an Easter egg related to that movie in the second book. So when the time comes, feel free to keep an eye out for that.
Buy his book.
Buy my book. Buy my book before it's too late, people.
Nice. Yeah. All your links will be in the description below. So sounds exciting.
But what about you, Hal? Where can people find you? What do you do?
This is your show after all.
I've never shouted stuff out on this show before. Wow. Don't find me. How about that?
Yeah. Don't come to my house.
Don't come to my house. No, I mean, Too Many Movies. Just look up Too Many Movies, Citizen Hal. You'll find it on YouTube.
Wahlberg is just in your house for some reason.
Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. Oh my God, he is. Oh my God.
Microprocessors.
Oh, that's a good point to end on. So yeah, thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take it easy, everyone.
Bye.
Okay, here we go. Warner Brothers Productions Corporation and the Rival F. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, the last one was very merry.
Yeah. Well, this one's gonna be Mr. and Mrs. is the name.
Yes, with called Dalton.
Is it Timothy Dalton?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Why would it be?
He's old. This is old. Oh, sweet.
He was in his like what? He was in his early 20s by the time like the 60s rolled around, so he would have been like
I don't think he was born
not born.
Yeah, he was not born. He didn't get to witness these naked mermaids. I'm seeing a lot of misses. I'm not seeing a lot of misters. Oh, there we go.
What the fuck is his problem?
He's on drugs. Oh god, no.
Oh, there's the misters.
Once you involve children, it's never good.
What's the point to do?
I'm gonna find some dead bodies.
I don't think this is how mermaids work.
They're just walking on their fins. You know what? It didn't even occur to me. I'm just like, wait a minute. Yeah, that's not right.
Ah, so this one's in your mask too, I see. It's a lot of lobsters.
A lot of lobsters, a lot of crabs. It's off Cape Cod.
Yeah, look, he's got the bowler hat.
Hitler?
Oh, that's Chaplin.
Yeah, not this Chaplin.
It's off? What are you doing here? I wonder what she's supposed to be a reference to.
Greta Garbo. No. No, that's Harpo Marx. Oh, wait, he's talking. Never mind, that's not Harpo Marx.
Oh.
Oh my god. What the fuck?
What the fuck? What the hell?
Oh, that's the name of the cartoon. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh, that's so funny. Where does Mustache go?